Hi. This video review is to support you as you begin to move through the process of reviewing the observation write-ups submitted by the participating teachers within your district. After viewing this screencast, you will be able to access the observation write-up documents that have been submitted into Haiku by your participating teachers. You will be able to utilize the exemplars provided to you to determine the critical components of the observation write-up reflections, and then you'll be able to utilize that information to review the documents submitted by your participating teachers for the critical components. So one might ask, why an observation here, and why does it need to be written up, not formally, but specifically, and submitted into Haiku? The purpose of the observations and the reflections that go along with them is to provide each participating teacher with a specific opportunity to determine areas of growth for his or her practice. Then to provide each participating teacher with a very definitive opportunity to observe a teacher that he or she, of course in conjunction with the support provider, have determined display effectiveness in those areas of growth. And last but not least, to provide each participating teacher with that reflective opportunity. So we all know that something very important happens when someone goes from what they have seen, what they have heard, and what they think into the writing process. And as a result of all of that process, to then be able to have that critical, important discussion with their support provider. So let's get started sort of with the nuts and bolts first. This is year 1, 2014-15. This happens to be the Inland Hub, but all of the hubs appear the same. This is the observation, reflection, and write-up. If you recall, there's a purpose listed here in addition to the expectations, and we're going to use those expectations as we begin to review the documents that are submitted into Haiku. So let's note these expectations. The pre-observation reflection needs to really clearly explain what the PT is looking to observe and why. This allows the participating teacher to really focus in a targeted way in terms of what they are specifically going to be looking for. They may see many other things, but what specifically are they going to be looking for in this observation? The observation notes must outline what was observed, and we have some examples of that for you. The post-observation reflection addresses not only what a teacher did see, but how it relates back to what they originally were looking to observe. So we really want that connection. We want the plan, we want the actual observation, and then we want the teacher to be able to speak to, okay, here's what I wanted to see, here's what happened in the classroom, here's what I came out of it with. They, of course, can continue to talk about other things that they saw, but we really want that thread of connection from beginning to end. Let's take a look at this exemplar very quickly in terms of the pre-observation reflection. So note, here's the prompt for the teachers to help guide them and their thinking. What we look for here, again, is that the teacher has expressed their area of need and pretty specifically what they hope to see within this observation and what they hope to take back to their own classroom. So notice in the structure of this, the teacher very clearly has stated, I am most interested in observing how a teacher provides information to students, etc., etc. They also note an area that's been a challenge for them. So student note-taking has been a challenge for me. And also, I'm very interested in observing how another teacher manages behavior issues in the classroom. So this person, it's been very specific. It almost feels like, although they don't state it, that there's sort of a hierarchy here or a priority. But then they summarize areas of need to take back to my classroom. Very, very specific. Does it have to be written in this format? Of course not. It can be written entirely in narrative. It can be written entirely in bullet points. But what we're looking for, to go back to those expectations, has the teacher developed what they're looking for in the observation such that they will know whether their needs in an observation have been met? So we want it to be well targeted, we want it to be specific. For example, if a pre-observation reflection said, simply, I would like to see how the teacher manages the classroom, we would hope that the support provider would have follow-up questions. What does that mean? What specifically are you looking for? Again, the more targeted the PT is, the more the participating teacher is likely to get out of the observation. Observation notes. What we're looking for here are the actual notes that the teacher took during observation. And please know, they do not have to be typed. It's great if they are, it makes it easier for you to read, but it certainly can be handwritten, needs to be legible, needs to be something that we can follow and understand. And what we're looking for is something similar to what the support provider does when they go in and observe. So looking for times, specific things that the teacher does, specific things that the students do. Now, will a participating teacher be as terrific at this as a support provider or a district lead? That would be unlikely. This one that you see in part of this exemplar really hits the mark. However, what we're really looking for is not just generalities, but very specific things that the teacher needs. So how much we can guide them or support providers can guide them in, write down what you see. Going back and reflecting about it later then allows us to have the facts, the data, by which we can say, oh gosh, I didn't even realize that that took 25 minutes on that note-taking. That's an interesting piece I may want to think about. Here's another example just to reiterate that it doesn't have to be typed. We're looking for general information. Of course, the teacher may write side notes about, this is really terrific, I want to use it in my classroom. We want to help them become aware, however, of rather than making judgments throughout an observation, they're watching and looking and writing so that they can go back later and reflect upon, what did that really look like when all the students went into a group? How long did it really take them to do that? And of course, these notes should be about what's happening in the classroom, but they definitely should be focused upon what the teacher wrote about what they really wanted to see. So all areas of observation are terrific, but we really want them also to focus in on what they said they really wanted to see. Here's the post-observation reflection, and here is a prompt. How will you apply what you observed and or learned in your practice? Please explain. This person took a rather unique tack to it. Again, they're going to look different. This is entirely a narrative, but notice that this teacher writes what the teacher did during the observation, and in the purple is what he or she hopes to bring back based upon that piece of observation. That's probably more than a teacher really needs to do, but we're getting the general idea. We would like them to tie what they were interested in with what they saw with what their plans are. And the real critical piece is, what was it that they were going to look for? Did they see it? And what are they bringing back to their classroom specifically about that? Again, they may see other things that they get excited about. That's wonderful. But we want to be able to track that thread. What were they going to look for? What did they see? And what will they bring back to their classroom? So notice, if we look at the expectations, we're looking for clarity. We're looking for an outline of what was observed. And we're looking for a reflection that addresses what the teacher will implement. If they didn't see anything, that's okay, but why? It should have a connection to the pre-observation and the observation notes. One of the things that we want to remember as a reviewer is for us to not use our own opinions of what works and what doesn't work. We want the teacher to be able to look for what they feel is most important, to hopefully see that in the classroom, and then to address that specifically. So while we may have other ideas of strategies and practices, that may be, quote, better than what the teacher saw, that's not what we're asking them to do. Our hope, once again, is that the support provider has been able to take the participating teacher through this process in a meaningful way, such that they're able to have a very deep reflective conversation about what was seen, what's important to the participating teacher. Again, why do we ask them to write it down? Because writing is a critical process of reflection. And just as we may say to our students, we need for you to go through that process and write. The very same is true for teachers. They often discover things, discover items in their notes, discover items about their own reflections as they sit down to write it. It doesn't matter if it's narrative or bullets, as long as it's clear, direct, to the point, and pertinent to what they said they were going to look for. I hope this helps, and I hope that you enjoy reading what your participating teachers are writing about. Thank you.